You think they're listening because they care. But what if I told you the very people you trust the most are quietly collecting your secrets, waiting for the perfect moment to use them against you? Not everyone smiles with support. Some smile while sharpening the knife. And by the time you realize it, it's too late. This isn't paranoia, it's protection. Because in a world obsessed with oversharing, your silence might be the only thing standing between your peace and your public destruction. They smile, they nod, they say all the right things, until they don't. You think you're having a heart-to-heart. You think you're being seen, finally understood. But what you don't realize is that on the other side of your honesty is someone quietly taking notes. Not to help, but to hurt. Some people don't listen with love. They listen with strategy. They don't lean in to hold your story. They lean in to memorize it, distort it, and use it the second you slip. What you thought was connection is actually collection, a quiet collection of ammunition they can use against you when the time is right. And here's the most chilling part. Betrayal doesn't always come screaming. Sometimes it comes in whispers behind closed doors. Did you hear what she said? Can you believe what he's going through? Your pain becomes their punchline. Your confession becomes their currency. They trade your secrets like gossip stocks, gaining social capital from your suffering. This is the brutal cost of oversharing. The truth? Not everyone deserves access to your truth. Some people are emotionally bankrupt. They're not capable of holding space for your struggle without turning it into a spectacle. You keep thinking they're your confidant, when in reality, they're just waiting for a plot twist. So what's the solution? Guard your peace like it's gold. Let your silence be your sanctuary. Your power is in your privacy. Share your soul with people who've shown they can protect it. Everyone else? Let them wonder. Because the mystery they can't dissect is the one they can't destroy. We live in a world drunk on disclosure. Every thought, every feeling, every step of our journey, plastered online, offered up for approval, judged before it's even complete. Somewhere along the way, we started believing that if we don't tell it, it didn't happen. If we don't share it, it's not real. But here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. Oversharing is a trap. A quiet, seductive trap dressed up as vulnerability. And too many people are falling for it. We confuse venting with healing. We confuse exposure with empowerment. But the more you spill, the more you leak. You start to feel seen until the backlash hits. Until someone throws your trauma back in your face. Until your growth becomes someone else's gossip. And the damage? It's not loud. It's slow, silent, and internal. You start second-guessing your worth. You question your choices. You shrink just a little. You stop dreaming as big because too many people have already laughed at the last one. You stop trying new things because someone always has an opinion. Suddenly, your life isn't yours anymore, it's a stage. And that performance? It's exhausting. But the cure to this addiction isn't silence for silence's sake. It's intentional privacy. It's learning the difference between honesty and intimacy. You don't owe your raw, unfiltered life to the world. That's not authenticity. It's self-betrayal. So take a step back. Reclaim your narrative. Learn to enjoy milestones without posting them. Learn to cry without tweeting about it. Learn to grow in peace without needing the applause of people who don't even know your heart. Let your life be sacred again. Let privacy be your peace. Here's the cold truth. Strangers can't betray you. Only people you fed, loved, laughed with, trusted. Betrayal is a wound with fingerprints. Prints that belong to someone you once believed would never hurt you. It starts small. You share a story, a struggle, a slip-up, and they nod, pretending to hold it gently. But the second you walk away, they drop it, sometimes carelessly, sometimes maliciously. Either way, it shatters. You gave them access to your soul. They turned it into content, into control, into leverage. You thought they were safe. You thought they cared. You thought they were different. And maybe they did care until your vulnerability no longer served them. Until your success made them feel small. Until your healing made them irrelevant. Then came the gossip, the distance, the judgment disguised as advice. Suddenly, the person who held your hand is now holding your secrets like a weapon. It hits like a truck, but it teaches like a storm. Here's the lesson. Familiarity is not the same as loyalty. Just because they've known you for years doesn't mean they deserve to know what you're battling today. Some people grow roots in your past, but bring no water for your future. And if you're not careful, you'll keep planting seeds in poisoned soil. So what's the move? Pay attention. Watch how people handle other people's stories before you give them yours. Watch how they act when they don't get what they want. Listen not just to what they say, but what they repeat from others. You don't need 100 people in your corner. You need 3 people who would never weaponize your wounds. Trust slow. Protect early. Heal loud, but only once you're unshakably safe. Not everyone who claps is cheering. Some people just want to be close when it all comes crashing down. They smile at your rise, but secretly pray for your fall. Because every step forward you take reminds them of how stuck they are. You think they're rooting for you. But watch how their energy shifts when your blessings start showing. Notice the half-hearted congratulations, the subtle shade, the passive-aggressive jokes. Jealousy is rarely loud. It's usually dressed in politeness and pity. And you keep sharing your progress, your plans, your peace, hoping someone will genuinely celebrate you. But instead, you hand your harvest to someone hoping for a famine. You keep feeding people who secretly resent that you've learned how to cook. The most dangerous people aren't the obvious haters. It's the quiet ones who want updates. Not because they care, but because they want to calculate the distance between your joy and their jealousy. Here's the truth. Not everyone is ready for your breakthrough. And some people will do everything to block the light if it shines too brightly on the cracks in their own life. So what do? Stop giving them front row seats. Let them hear about it when it's already done. Let the results be so loud that the silence leading up to it becomes legendary. Build in the dark. Let success whisper its arrival before it roars. You don't owe anyone access to your process, especially not those who secretly hope it fails. You know the type. They check in just enough. They ask how you're doing, how your marriage is, how your business is going. Their voice is soft, their tone concerned, but something feels off. Too curious, too precise, too eager to dig deep. These aren't friends. They're emotional spies, and they're everywhere. They were the face of concern, but it's not compassion they seek. It's content. They want the inside scoop, the chaos, the mess, the drama. They want to feel important because they know your secrets. Not to help, but to hold power. You think you're building intimacy. They're building a profile. And one day, when you're at your most vulnerable, they'll use it. Not with a dagger, but with a whisper. Did you hear? You didn't know she was going through that? Oh, well, she told me. Suddenly, your struggle is a story. Your truth is a transaction. And the trust? Gone. So how do you spot them? Watch for pattern seekers. People who ask more than they share. People who disappear when you set boundaries. People who treat your pain like puzzle pieces they're assembling for their own entertainment. Protect yourself, not by becoming cold, but by becoming wise. If someone hasn't earned the right to your pain, they don't deserve the story of your perseverance. Let your life be layered. Let your silence have teeth. Not everyone gets the privilege of knowing the real you. You don't bake bread with the oven door wide open. You don't grow flowers under a spotlight. And you sure as hell don't heal in front of an audience that's more interested in judging your bruises than understanding your battles. Growth requires darkness, not isolation, not secrecy, but sacred privacy. Somewhere along the way, we started treating our healing like a reality show. Every breakdown had to be broadcast. Every step forward had to be announced. And every emotion needed an audience. But healing is not a spectacle. Transformation is not entertainment. And sacred work doesn't belong on a public stage. You've got to protect the cocoon if you ever want to become the butterfly. When you're rebuilding your life, your habits, your identity, your purpose, you're vulnerable, like a wound that's still healing. And what happens when you expose a healing wound to dirty hands? Infection, regression, contamination. That's what happens when you invite too many opinions into your healing season. You post that you're starting therapy. They comment, "Why now?" You share your breakup. They say, "I saw it coming." You talk about your goals. They laugh, compare, or worse, doubt you in silence. Now your sacred journey becomes a group project for people who haven't earned the right to grade your progress. Here's the solution. Fall in love with the silence. Honor the dark season. Don't post every victory. Don't explain every failure. Don't narrate the storm while you're trying to survive it. Let your process breathe, because when you heal privately, you protect your power. And when you emerge stronger, sharper, untouchable, there won't be a single person who can take credit for your rise. They'll just have to watch and wonder how you did it without them. In a world that never shuts up, silence feels uncomfortable. We fill it with noise, notifications, validation-seeking conversations, and endless explanations. But silence is where your real voice lives. And most people are terrified to hear it. We talk to escape the mirror. We overshare to distract ourselves from facing the hard questions. Who am I when no one's clapping? Who am I when no one's watching? Do I even know my own voice without the feedback? Oversharing isn't always about connection. Sometimes it's a symptom of self-doubt. We're unsure, so we share and hope someone out there tells us we're right. We explain ourselves because we haven't fully accepted ourselves. We seek validation in place of self-approval. But here's the gritty truth. Every time you over-explain, you're teaching people to doubt you. You're telling them, I don't trust myself enough, so I need you to make it okay. That's backwards. Real confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to be validated to be real. It doesn't need applause to be authentic. And it sure doesn't require an audience to be powerful. So what's the solution? Practice stillness. Practice restraint. Let silence speak before you do. Don't respond to every opinion. Don't explain every change. Don't narrate every emotion. Let people sit in their own confusion. You don't owe clarity to people who didn't invest in your chaos. In that silence, you'll hear the voice that matters, the one that's been drowned out by the noise for far too long. Your own. You share a dream, and they rewrite it as a delusion. You open up about your struggle, and they spin it into drama. You confess a past mistake, and suddenly, that becomes your entire identity. Every time you tell your story to the wrong audience, they take the pen, and before you know it, they're not just reading your narrative, they're rewriting it. Here's the brutal truth. The more you explain yourself, the more people feel entitled to define you. You tell them your why, hoping for understanding, but instead they dissect it, critique it, and label it based on their comfort zone. Now you're stuck defending your truth to people who never had the capacity to understand it in the first place. And here's the kicker. They don't care about the full story. They care about the version that makes sense to them, even if that version erases your depth, your progress, your evolution. You could have changed. You could have healed. But they'll remember you for your lowest moment, because that's when you gave them the most to talk about. And every time you explain again, try and set the record straight, you give away a little more power. So what's the alternative? Let them misunderstand you. Yes, let them sit in the false story they created. Let them whisper. Let them guess. Because the people who matter, they don't need an explanation. They watch your actions. They've seen your growth. They know your silence speaks volumes. Your life is in a courtroom. You're not obligated to present evidence. Live it, quietly, powerfully, unapologetically, and let the truth show up uninvited when the results are undeniable. Every castle has walls, gates, guards. Your life, it deserves the same. Not everyone gets to walk through the front door of your story. Some people only belong on the outside, waving at the results, not walking through the halls of your transformation. Purpose is a fragile thing in its early stages. It's still forming, still uncertain. And when exposed too early, it can be crushed by careless hands or infected by doubtful minds. You tell someone you want to start a business. They say, "Do you really think you're cut out for that?" You tell someone you're leaving a toxic relationship. They say, "But wasn't it fine last week?" You tell someone you're moving to another city. They say, "What if it doesn't work out?" And suddenly, their doubts become your doubts. Their fears become your hesitation. Their projections dim your fire before it even becomes a flame. Privacy is the wall that protects that flame. It gives you time to build, to pivot, to fail without shame, to rise without pressure. It gives you the freedom to experiment without the weight of public expectation or premature criticism. When you protect your life, you're not being secretive. You're being strategic. So stop giving unauthorized access. Your energy is sacred. Your vision is rare. Your mission is too important to be tossed into the hands of people who just want something to talk about. Let your life be a fortress, strong, quiet, impenetrable, and let the final reveal be so powerful. It doesn't need an explanation. It just demands respect.